It's a pleasure to welcome you all this evening for this artist talk with Jeff Cowen. How many of you guys have seen the exhibition upstairs yet? And I hope that the rest of you will have a look at it after this talk, that it will inspire you to go up and see it. The exhibition is made possible. It's based on a private collection, the MAP collection, a German collection. It's a selection of, I think we're showing 106 works upstairs. My name is Wilas, and I have the pleasure of curating this exhibition together with Jeff and also with Mira from Fotografiska. It's works from your period in Berlin. Yeah. But I want to kind of start with the beginning. With what was your first introduction to art?
Okay, before I answer that question, I just want to thank Fotografiska. I've been coming to this museum for a really long time, and I really love it because it promotes photography and brings photography to people, and photography's been a great love of mine. And so thank you, Fotografiska, for showing my work and making this possible. So I became interested in photography my last year of university. I was going to become an academic. I went to school in Tokyo, and I was going to become a professor and teach Asian studies, teach maybe art history, Japanese art history. And then I decided that, you know what, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in a library. Because, you know, when you're a young person, you're still getting to know yourself. And I had so many interests, and I didn't really know what to do. And my last class, last year at university, you can take an elective, and I took a photography class. And this was connected to Tisch School of the Arts, because I went to NYU. And the teacher said we had to make a documentary. And at the time, I was driving a taxi cab in New York and to help support my studies. And I was living in the meatpacking district. And in those days, it was pretty rough area. There was a lot of prostitution and everything. So I decided to do my first photography project on transgendered prostitution in the meatpacking district. Because I knew a lot of people from my neighborhood. When I'd come home at night after driving the cab, people would be sitting on my steps using drugs, and I just knew everybody from the neighborhood. So I said, okay, this makes sense, I'll do this. And I started to make portraits of people, and I would bring back pictures to the prostitutes to thank them. And then all of a sudden, all the drug dealers were protecting me in the neighborhood because I was the guy handing out free portraits to people, to a community that nobody did anything for. And so immediately I had carte blanche to do what I want and photograph at night, and with the protection of all the drug dealers. So I had a nice little racket going. And that's how I started photography. But I think my first introduction to art was by my aunt, who was an art historian. And she used to take me to the Metropolitan Museum of Art to look at paintings. And I remember the first day we went, I was looking at a painting, and then I said, oh, that's really nice. I like that. And then I walked away. She said, where are you going? You've only looked at it for about, 10 seconds. I said, well, I want to look at another one. She goes, oh, no. We're going to sit here, and we're going to talk about this painting for a while. And we sat there for about 20 minutes, and she taught me, little by little, the language of painting. And what I learned from her was that seeing is something that you have to learn to do and that you can develop. And that looking at art takes energy and thought, and the more you know, the more you can appreciate it. And so I pretty much devoted my life to learning how to see, if you will. And yeah, but mostly I decided to do photography because I didn't know what to do with my life, and I was interested in everything. And I thought photography is such a great vehicle to take the trip in life, right? Because you can explore so many different areas. So there was a period I was really interested in street photography. Then I was interested in photographing women. And then later I got interested in abstraction. Now I'm interested in nature. There was a period I fell in love with the reflection of light on water. So I would take boats at Venice at night and photograph the reflection of all the boats in the canals around Venice. So it gives me permission to live an introspective life. And that's mostly why I do it.
So upstairs, the exhibition is called Berlin Works, and it's from works you did while you were living in Berlin. Can you tell us about that period of your life and how that influenced your work and your practice?
Sure. So I should just say a little bit first in order to answer that question. I'm an analog photographer, so I only work with film. And all the prints in the exhibition, they're all handmade by myself and in a custom-made darkroom, and I use chemistry and black and white silver paper. And I moved to Berlin after living in Paris, and Paris is a very seductive city. And when I got to Berlin, the weather wasn't great. It was very gray all the time, and it can be a little depressing there and dark. And I didn't find a lot of inspiration in the city. I mean, the people were really nice and everything, but the city itself left me kind of in a lull. And for about a year and a half, I really struggled to do any kind of interesting work and went into a kind of depression. And then suddenly things started to happen because I started to work much more from inside than from outside. And this is kind of counterintuitive for a photographer because a camera is sort of designed to replicate the external world. And because of my reaction in Berlin, I started I need to create. I have a lot inside of me, and photography allows me to do that. So I started experimenting more with chemistry and continuing my studies of chemistry and trying to create a wider vocabulary in order to express myself. So Berlin forced my work into a different area.
And in the exhibition, there's a room with the W series, which can you tell us how that came about? What was the background for that?
Yeah, sure. So most of the time I'm doing very large prints, and I do them because I'm a very physical person. I have a lot of energy, and I like to move around. And in general, even when I was studying academic drawing and painting, I wasn't particularly good at working small. I found that I'm much more free working large scale. And I continue to do that in photography. And I broke my collarbone because I was trying to get an U-Bahn to get somewhere inconsequential. And I didn't want to miss the train because, God forbid, they only come every 3 minutes. And so I slipped and took this out. And then the next morning I woke up and I realized, I'm not going to be able to work anymore. I can't lift these big, heavy trays. And I said, well, I've got to adapt, and that's what you do in life. And I started to work small. And that allowed me to free up because I could make more mistakes and be more relaxed. Because when you're making really big prints, as you saw upstairs, you're working with big pieces of paper. They're expensive. It takes a lot of time. And it's not as easy to be really relaxed. You try to be, but trying and actually being able to do it are two different things. So I was able to work very small, and then if you make a mistake, you can throw away the paper. And it allowed me to be more free and to explore more with chemistry.
The exhibition Berlin Works is in a special space for me in this museum. We call it the church, and I find it very fitting for your work, Jeff, because to me it's very spiritual, your work, and it has this timeless quality. And I find that your work it's very different from anything else I've seen out there, and I've seen a lot. So what is it? What is it that you do that makes this intangible quality?
Yeah, good question. So when I started out doing photography, started with a very traditional black and white process with film, camera, and I started doing street photography. And after a few years, I started to become very frustrated because I realized that in order to express myself, I had to be dependent upon something in the external world to occur, and for me to be there at the right time to express my sentiments. And I became very frustrated with this, and at that point I decided that I would go to art school because I had been trained in academia, and I decided to go pursue academic drawing and painting, and paint from life. And I did that for several years, and then I decided, okay, now I'm going to mate the power of painting with the power of photography and put these two genres together. Because we all forget that photography, it's quite a young medium. It's a couple of 100 years old, which is really nothing. And if you look at the history of the universe, for that matter, and particularly even just human art forms, painting and sculpture. So it's very, very young, and I thought, okay, there's really a lot of room here to explore. And I think that's just a very human thing, to want to explore and to have a kind of adventure. And that's what I mean by photography is such a wonderful vehicle, because it gives me permission to explore. And so I started adapting painting techniques and photographic techniques and putting it together to create a language that would suit myself personally and to make the kind of art that I wanted to make. But I think I was very lucky because to be born when I was, it's well after Duchamp, when Duchamp gave permission to artists to do whatever you please, really. And because before Duchamp, art was very strict. You're a classical painter, or you're this kind of painter, or this kind of sculptor. And now it's more of a wide open field. So I decided to, yeah. And okay, yeah.
But there's also, you're talking about the non-moment sometimes.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
So typically photography is about, well, as Cartier-Bresson said, Henri Cartier-Bresson talked about the decisive moment. That very special moment when the event occurs, the defining moment. And I found very early on that I was actually interested in quite the opposite, because I didn't want my images to be about an event externally. I wanted it to be about a timeless, eternal moment, something, for lack of a better word, a spiritual kind of happening. This is where language kind of fails. And that's also something I'd love to touch upon, is that if I had the ability to articulate my inner life, I would have become a writer. But I don't have that facility. So that's why I think I became a visual artist, because I want to articulate the non-verbal, non-conceptual realm. And that's really exciting to me. That's what I'm particularly interested in. Because to me, if I look at a photograph or a piece of artwork, I want to be able to develop a relationship with that work over a long period of time. And if it's really effective, I should be able to put an image or a painting on my wall for a lifetime and have a relationship to it. And that's kind of what I'm after. And if it's about a moment, an event, after a while you say, okay, that's the event, and okay, I got it. But if there's some kind of mystery and timelessness in the image, then it becomes immortal. And that's fascinating to me. So that's the realm I'm kind of interested in investigating and looking at.
Exploring. I don't know. Do you have any questions in the audience? Yes. Wait for the microphone. Joanna, are you here? Yeah.
I'll repeat the
But-
question. If you want. Yes.
I was seeing an exhibition here and very emergent, especially of the artwork called Yuki. And I
Yes.
wonder if
Oh,
you can
this image.
express,
Yeah.
you can a bit tell the process behind this creation. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So anytime I approach to photograph a human being, and I don't really like to use the word portrait because typically a portrait is about talking about the specific character of a person. And I'm not particularly good at that, or it's not my realm of interest. I'm interested more in to find this universal connectedness that we all share as human beings and define this kind of immortal soul of the subject. So I don't use the word portrait, and so, and we were talking about the non-moment before. I'm trying to photograph, when I photograph people, is to capture them in a moment that's not specific, where maybe some kind of silence occurs, and you're in this in-between moment that's non-definable, and then something human comes out in the figure, and so it starts to, it immortalizes the moment. I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But in that piece, you rip and you collage and there's many layers also to the work.
So when I studied painting and drawing, and from my life of looking and seeing, is, you know, when you basically, my whole day is spent how to understand and to reckon with this rectangle. And this rectangle that I make photographs or images out of, or photo works that I like to call them, is a very sacred space to me. And I've spent my life studying that rectangle and how to organize the space within it, and why. Because I want to make a compelling image to express what's going on in my inner life, and to talk about the nonverbal and irrational world, and to get out of my rational thinking and to express this other aspect of that we all share, being human. And so all this work you see in there, this is all to use all these collaging and painting. This is vocabulary that I use to try to make compelling images to force the message in my works. Yeah.
How does a normal workday look for you?
Good question. So I'm usually a pretty early riser. It could be 4:30, 5 in the morning that I'm up, and then I usually do some writing with my coffee, and I write for maybe 20, 30 minutes, and I can't even read my own writing actually. I just write, and and then I'll start having some ideas, and it really frees me up, because I have a very judgmental personality, and it allows me to free up. I mean, one of the problems of this obsession with a rectangle and being a photographer is that you start to look for what's not working. And this is very helpful in art, but it's really dreadful in life. And because I'm really a printer more than I am a photographer, because I spend most of my time in the darkroom, and printing is a very intense discipline. And what you learn usually is, so I'll wake up and I write my book, and I'll make a print, let's say, and then it goes on a drying rack, and then later in the day when it's dry, I'll put it up on the wall and I'll look at it. And, you know, the first thing I see is what's wrong with it. And my wife can walk in the studio and I'll be slumped on the couch in a massive depression, and she'll say, "Oh wow, that's a really beautiful work." No, it's total garbage, and I've just wasted this whole day. And she goes, "What's the matter?" And I'll walk over, and I'll say, "You see that over there on the left-hand corner?" She goes, what are you talking about? I go, "That little," and so because if there's something wrong, then you have to start again, and it has to be perfect because it's this sacred space. And so, yeah, somehow this writing allows me to, because I'm terrified every morning to go to work because I'm going to screw everything up. And that's a lot of pressure to have to be under.
But when we look at your pictures or prints, they're not perfect, but they are perfect. It's
right.
It's
That's really quite good. So yeah, who can define perfection? My idea of perfection encompasses the world of entropy that we're all subjected to in nature, and that is the destruction of everything. And, yeah, no, I mean so there's constantly this fight between harmony and chaos, and it's very easy to get to chaos and very difficult to get from chaos back to harmony. And I also find, I mean, the act of destruction is a creative act. And I try not to run away from that, but try to understand it. So you'll see in the works, some of them can be pretty tough, and there's a lot of there's destructive forces going on, but I find those forces, they have a beauty to them, and I use chemistry to talk about that and to illustrate that. And so that's also something I'm interested in, and it creates a tension, this fight between harmony and chaos. Yeah.
I think I saw a question there. Wait for the microphone is coming. I know, but we want it for the recording, so that's why we need the microphone.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because you say, for example, in the morning when you wake up and then you got some idea, but also sometimes would that be like maybe you got some fixed idea and then you want to make that happen, you got some image in your head, and then it's kind of also like kind of the process. You were also thinking about like technique, and so for example, like you say when you do your print, and only you know what's went wrong.
Yeah.
But for example, when your wife come in and they say, "Oh, but this is like a pretty good piece," but only you know, maybe, I don't know, like when you say something was wrong, if you were like looking for the part was a technique or was the whole, I don't know, maybe just some part of a color or something like what.
How do I know what?
Yeah, how do you know like it's wrong? That was one question. And the second one was, like when you work with like this kind of like big image, would that be also sometimes make you like blind, like maybe you don't see, actually it's already very good because you are looking for something, what was wrong, but then maybe actually it's already very good.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
So that really talks about what is reality, right? And so we have this filter when we look. You wake up one day and you're in a good mood and everything's great, and the next day everything's bad. So I try to look at a work over a period of time because I know it will depend upon my mood, and it's very dangerous because maybe I've had a great day and I think something really terrible is a fantastic masterpiece, and I come back 3 weeks later, I realize, oh my God, this is garbage. So it's very important to have a relationship with an artwork before it leaves my studio. So I spend a lot of time to look at things. And how do I know when something's wrong? It's because when you have an image, there is a lot going on in that image. You have composition and you have tonality and colors, and everything needs to be working in the right direction. And so if let's say if there's not enough highlight in the shadows and that area is an important part of your composition, you might have to rework it so the whole print's working perfectly in unity. Because the photographs, you know, they lie, but they don't lie. They're a contradiction. And so, yeah, you know, a piece of artwork is the sum of choices. And so in order to make that picture of Yuki you were talking about, there's, I don't know, 1,000 choices that had to occur for that image to happen. From when I picked up the camera to which camera am I going to use, which lens, who is the subject going to be, what is the lighting, is she 25 centimeters from the lens or 27 centimeters? You know, and I can tell you the difference between 2 centimeters can make and break a good photograph. So everything is an important choice to which paper I want to use, what chemistry, what size, and so on over. And that particular image I worked on for many years and looked at it and kept changing it until I thought, okay, this is resolved now. This is doing what I think it can do.
Knut, we have a question from the master.
Thank you. I would like to, it would be interesting to know, just like take an example of one of these pictures here. When you say you print it and do you do all the way when you start working with it from the beginning and do the things that you add, or do you do it in steps? You do first the print and then you think and then you do next step?
Yeah, well, it's many steps. First, I'll make a photo. I'll shoot the negative, develop the negative. Then I make contact sheet, look at those. I say, oh, those 2 images are interesting. Then I might make a work print of those, put the small work print on the wall, look at those images for 6 months or so. Oh, okay, that's interesting. This can go in that direction. Let's try that. Print it, let it dry. Oh, it's not really effective. This is not doing what I want. All right, let me see if I can add some blue toning to it. Go back in the darkroom, work on the print more, dry it. Oh no, it needs some post-production work. So it's many layers and many choices. And yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the front row again, please.
One more?
We have one more. Okay, sorry. So dark. Okay.
I was wondering, you're talking about these non-moments, and I think for a lot of people, inspiration is born from a specific moment or from seeing something specific, like a specific happening or whatever.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, how is inspiration to you born?
Yeah.
Just because if you're talking about these non-moments, where do you get your ideas and your inspiration?
Yeah, that's. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, very good question. I mean, I think that's the whole reason I pursued the life of an artist, because I find inspiration all the time. I wake up in the morning, I open the window, and the smell of the air comes in. Oh wow, it's so the perfume of the air. It's so beautiful, and oh, look at the tone of the sky today, and yeah. So my natural instinct to want to celebrate that, and I think that's what art is, at least for me, is to celebrate this incredible universe or world we live in, and it's such a mystery and so fascinating. So there's inspiration all around, and I find it all day long. It could be in a face, or on the water, or a tree, anywhere. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the amazing thing. I've been photographing a lot of trees over the past 15 years, and you think, okay, that's the last tree. And then you see, look at that tree, and it has its own personality and its own energy. And so everything's for inspiration. It's all out there.
And we have a question in the back row there.
Thank you so much for the very inspirational and very interesting talk. So my question is regarding more about, you spoke about your defining moments. I'm just very curious to hear how has that defining moment impacted your technique, but as well as your creation throughout the past decade?
So how did the these
defining
defining moments
moments.
inspire my technique. So, I mean, I can give you an example. So, my last project has been in southern France, and I've been working a lot with the light in southern France. And I started working there, and it was really difficult because the sky is so incredibly blue, and the sun is just this golden light everywhere. And I thought, I must be the biggest idiot in the history of the world trying to photograph Provence with black and white photography. And then I said, no, okay, but you're an artist, so your job is to figure out a solution here and to make your weakness your strength. And I've always cherished that fight I have with my medium of black and white photography, because I love black and white photography because it's a step out, takes you a step out of reality, but it also offers a lot of limitations. And those limitations are really interesting to me because it forces me to make decisions that help me to arrive at an interesting place by maybe toning prints or adding color or, yeah. So my subject will help me to make creative decisions of how I'm going to make a piece of artwork. Yeah. Thank you.
And yes, front row.
Hello. Thank you so much for an interesting talk. And I was thinking about the connection between the inner you of what you express and the outer world, where I think that many times art is the power of it is the ability to take the unknown and make something out of it, where many of the challenges today, there's a big fear for the unknown and the everything that we can't explain. And I was just wondering of your take of how you perceive yourself and art when it comes to contemporary difficulties, but also the importance of art and culture.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The big one.
Yeah. I would say the game for me really is to show and reveal the unseen. And ultimately, I've had an interesting day if at the end of the day there's something up on my wall that didn't exist before the morning and that surprises me and reveals some kind of small explanation or not, shows something of the, see, it's very hard to articulate, which is good. It means I'm in the right place, yeah? But to reveal the irrational or to reveal the unknown. And that's what's so exciting about art. When you go to a show and, oh, okay, not very good, not very good. And then you go to another show and then you see a piece of artwork. It's, oh, wow. And it just stops you and it silences your mind and it puts you in touch with some kind of sensation in your body that you never experienced before. And then you feel very human. And for me, I don't know, I mean, in one way I take art very seriously, in another way I don't take it that serious. I mean, I'm not saving lives in an Ebola clinic risking my life. I'm a selfish guy working in a darkroom trying to have fun and make some artwork, yeah? So I really try not to be too serious about it, and it should be fun, and yeah.
But when you talked about your Berlin time and you had a bad time, like,
Well,
how did art did it help you in any way, or did it?
Yeah, I mean, this is what's interesting. As you get older, you start to look back on times that were maybe difficult times, and that time you said, oh, this was a bad time, but in fact, you realize that was the most significant time of my life. I needed to go through that period in order to develop as a person or my vision as an artist. And so when I first got to Berlin, this frustration I had with the external world there ultimately was gold for me, because it helped me to mine my inner life more and to be less and less dependent upon the external world, which is, I wanted that liberty as a image maker, and I sort of found it in that darkness, if you will. So, yeah, I tried.
Oh, we have more questions.
Thank you so much. I just have one last question, because when I see your work, it reminds me three words: delicacy, timelessness, and non-contrast. And I wonder
Delicacy?
Delicacy,
Yeah.
timelessness, and non-contrast. And comparing to some other photographers like Seydou Keita, Patrick de Marchelier, or Helmut Newton, you achieve this aquarelle almost effect in photography. And I wonder how it's possible based on your particular technique.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I mean, this is what's great about art is that there's no right answer. It's all subjective, and that's why it's so great to look at work from different artists. And I can only do what I can do, and so I make decisions, and those decisions result in the works that you see and the colors that you see. And yeah, Guy Bourdin, the great fashion photographer, he'll make another decision and do these fantastic color photographs because he has a different eye for color. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I have a bit, hopefully easier question. Do you take digital photos? And if you do, what do you do with them?
I don't have a digital camera. I work all analog. But that is not to say that I think the history of photography is that the medium is always changing because, for example, at one point when I think platinum we were getting from Russia, and during the First World War we couldn't get platinum, so platinum, I might be wrong, but I have to check my dates. But anyway, the history of photographic medium is always changing, and now we're in a digital realm, and digital photography is incredibly powerful, and some people are doing amazing things with it. It's just not my particular interest. I'm interested in handwork and the physicality of working with wet processed black and white photography. So, yeah.
Hello, thank you very much for this very inspirational talk and exhibit. My question is, as an artist, is there something you're looking for that you haven't found yet? And if you have found it, how do you know that that was it?
Oh my. I think we just found it. Yeah. No, but I mean, you know, I always, I mean, it's a cliche, but I always love this very famous quote by Sir Edmund Hillary. They asked him why he climbed Mount Everest, and he said because it was there. And we're human beings, and we have this kind of biological genetic coding, each of us different, yeah? And mine is to search, and I don't think I'll ever get tired of that. And if I find the unknown, then I want to find more unknown. Because it's so magical, yeah? I mean, and it's endless. So I want to be lost there.
Hi. I would like to ask, as a photography and art student myself, you're always told that you need to have a distinct style or find your own style and favorite. With all your experimentation throughout the years with different types of photography, from street work to this kind of artistic darkroom work, were you ever scared that you would walk too far away from your own style, from yourself, while working, while experimenting?
Yeah, that's a really excellent question. So he's talking about signaturization as an artist, and in many ways, signaturization is very dangerous for an artist because you can paint yourself into a corner. And that's exactly what I wanted to avoid as an artist. And my answer to that question is, so how do you find your signaturization? And hopefully it's not a signaturization, it's non-signaturization, but yeah, it's also a contradiction. But that's just time, and I think there's another quote that I love by Willem de Kooning. There was a young artist, I think he was around, or in his maybe 40 or in his mid-30s, and he had a show, and de Kooning was at the show, and he said, "Mr. de Kooning, what do you think of my show?" And de Kooning says to me, he goes, "How could you possibly be so unambitious?" Meaning, this guy was just dying to have a show and to put up his work, and de Kooning would say, "Hey, you're not there yet. You know, it takes time." And I think, you know, we live in this world where everybody wants immediate gratification. We want everything now, but actually, art is a lifelong pursuit. And I feel like I'm just getting started, yeah? And that's what's so exciting about it. Just to take the time to find out what and who you are, and not to get cornered and to feel, because if you're too calculated, it'll show in the work, yeah? If you're too ambitious in a material way, it's going to show in the work. The work doesn't lie. It has to be honest. And that honesty is found in time and hard work and discipline. It's my opinion anyway. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
And talent. Do we have any more questions? Yes, Josette.
I have a question for you, Jeff. I was thinking, reading something about Richard Serra the other day, just because he's left this world, and I was looking at some things of his work and just the monumental works that he does, but it's kind of the wonder of the world kind of thing. And I read something that he said. He said, what I'm doing with my work has nothing to do with specific intentions. Right. And then why would I want specific intentions? Because that would hinder and create constraints for whoever's looking at it and appreciating it.
Right.
And that really struck me. And I wondered, do you ever feel that you have specific intentions? Does that speak to you in any way? And then I thought, when I was looking at your work and enjoying your work yet again, and I thought, is there a message that he wants us to take away from this particular exhibition, or this work, or this period of your life? Or are there intentions?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree with Sarah, of course, that if a piece of artwork is too resolved, then it's going to be lacking some kind of staying power, and it'll cease to be living. And a good piece of artwork for me is that it continually will challenge me and provoke something in me over time. So it needs to be open-ended. The only thing that I hope is that when people look at my work, that they come away from it maybe with some questions, or feeling a bit enriched, hopefully, and that it's put them in touch with some part of them that they weren't maybe in touch with before. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, I tried. Thank you.
I think it's nice to leave with some sense of joy as well, and maybe I'm just feeling weird about that at the moment as an American.
Yeah.
All the shit that's going on in America, but that it's important to feel that sense of happiness or feel joy, and that feel that when you look at something. And I wondered if you intentionally.
Well, no,
were
I mean,
getting
that's
that.
really interesting, because Matisse during the war, he had a lot of criticism because he was making all these beautiful paintings, and he refused to show the horror of what was going on around him, and that's valid. Yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about art. There's no right answers. You can do what you want, and so there's room for everybody. So I don't know. I just work. I wake up in the morning and I make artwork because I kind of need to psychologically to survive in this world. I need to express myself. You know, like Sir Edmund Hillary has to climb mountains. I need to make artwork. I don't know why. It's something I do. So yeah.
Thank you.
We're very happy that you have to do that.
Oh, good. Yeah. All right.
I want to mention a couple of things that are that are coming up for you. This exhibition we've been working on for a long time here in Stockholm, and we're very, very happy about having it here. And then you have one in Berlin at the moment, at House Berlin, which is close to Fotografiska It's a fantastic show. If you're visiting Berlin this summer, you should really go and see it. It's works by Jeff, and then it's a curated show. So you have works by Belmer and by Polke and by who else, Jeff?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. But it's really a very spiritual, and it's called Seance, fantastic exhibition. And then in June 21st, I think, House Marseille, Museum of Photography, opens a solo show with Jeff. It's the premiere of the Provence works. And at the same time, the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam are showing Jeff's works next to Van Gogh. So that's going to be very, very... I'm excited about that. I'm sure you are too. Yeah. So if you're going to Amsterdam or Berlin, you should stop by. I think we're wrapping up now, or do we have any more questions, or is there anything more? You have one more.
Like you mentioned, because
Just a second.
You have mentioned, you think to like artists, if they have some like signature style, it's kind of like dangerous. And also I can see they are like very, very different. And I'm also wondering, for example, in your head, when, like, for example, just here, so many different type of style. And it's like every pieces when you make, do they have a kind of a story in your head, or maybe like perhaps one piece you say, okay, maybe this piece you will focus on colors, and maybe that piece you focus on like technique. I don't know. Just curious.
I don't know either. That's
because because many, for example, they are like untitled. Just like I'm wondering, okay, if you have like the story in your head, what you want to create. But for example, for me, when I see, but maybe I feel different. Is that like
okay? I understand. So, what I meant was that if you have a very strong signature, this is very restrictive because you have to continue to work in that way. And I don't know about everybody else here, but I'm changing all the time. I'm a very different person than I was 5 years ago, and certainly a different person than I was when I was a teenager, thank God. One tries to just, as I said before, to be honest and to make work that's has the integrity of who you are as a human being, and without ambitious ulterior motives. And so if your motives are pure, then the work will be pure. And then ultimately, whatever you touch will somehow maybe be recognized as your work because it's honest. It's like a good actor. You go and you watch them work, and if they're trying too hard to act, you know right away. But if they're really good actor and they're being the character, then it's singing. So we just want to sing. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You.
Thank you, Fotografiska.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.